So once again, good morning. If you have just joined us, we are just giving a little bit more time for folks to join us. We have a nice number of folks who have signed up, and so we are going to give it just another 90 seconds here to let folks come on into the room. We're all happy that you are here. We're excited. Um, and our guest speaker today, Ms. Morgan Christie, she is excited also to have you here. And she's really looking forward to some great dialogue. So some talking back and forth. So am I. And once again, I'm Dr. Tanya O'Neill, and I'm going to be your moderator for this morning. So again, another 60 seconds, and we'll get it kicked off. So while we're waiting, I would love to know where's everyone logging in from today? What part of the universe are you sitting in today? I'll start out.
I'm Dr. Sequita Sweet. I'm from South Jersey.
South Jersey. Okay, you're near me. I'm right here, right outside of Philadelphia in Jenkintown.
Oh, okay, very good, very good.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see some San Antonio. Okay. All right. Little Texas in the house. All right. Well, I don't want to delay this any further. It is 10:02, and I know we're going to have some more folks joining us, and we'll welcome them as they get started. But I'm going to go ahead and officially get started here. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Welcome to the Black Doctoral Network Fall Workshop Series. And today, our esteemed guest speaker will be discussing breaking into the publishing market from Schoolhouse to the publishing house, taking your writing to the next level. So before I give you a little bit more information about Miss Christie, just want to tell everyone to make sure to sign up for our upcoming workshops. Every Tuesday, we have them until mid-November. So we've got about 4 more workshops. And so please take a look at those. And also remember that every Thursday we have conversation starters and Facebook and YouTube at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Every Saturday, we have our fireside chats at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Messenger. And again, you're here with us today, every Tuesday for our fall 2021 Black Doctoral Network Workshop Series. And I hope you have already also signed up for our conference that is coming up very quickly at the end of this month. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Ms. Morgan Christie. So many of you probably know that breaking into the publishing market is especially daunting. If you're a new writer, there's limited practical experience, and we might not just have the access to publishing resources while we're in school or when we go to the workshops and writing seminars. But what we do have today, we have Morgan Christie. And I just want to tell you just a little bit about her. Her work has appeared in many publications. Her poetry chapbook, Variations on a Lobster's Tail, was the winner of the 2017 Alexander Posey Chapbook Prize, University of Central Oklahoma Press. And her second poetry chapbook, Sterling, was released by CW Books. Her full-length short story collection, These Bodies, was published by Tolson Books and was featured in Poets and Writers, BuzzFeed News, Forward Reviews, and other places. Her most recent poetry chapbook, When They Come, was released by Black Sunflowers Press 2021 and is featured in the Forward Arts Foundation's National Poetry Day exhibit. So without further ado, I give you Ms. Morgan Christie here. And again, remember, she is looking forward to having some dialogue with you. So please feel free to come off of mute, throw some questions in the chat. I'll try to catch those as well. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Miss Christie.
Thank you so much, Dr. O'Neill. That was wonderful. And thank you all for being here. Good morning, everyone. I appreciate everyone being here so bright and early with us. And of course, thank you to the Black Doctoral Network for allowing us this space and this absolutely wonderful workshop opportunity. So hopefully today we're gonna try to have a discussion about just this industry, breaking in, figuring out ways to kind of maneuver through our spaces, especially as we get to a point in our careers where we don't just want to publish, our academic and scholarly work, but also our creative, and to work through that forum together. So as a warm-up exercise, even though this is, it's a workshop setting and I want to give you all information, one of the biggest aspects to this particular workshop is that we're writers, we're creators, and we want to warm ourselves up to that concept and that idea, okay? So we're actually going to start today off with a writing prompt. So if you have a pen and paper nearby, or if you want to use your laptop screen, that's fine. It's whatever option that you want to do. And I am going to share with everyone very quickly my own screen. Make sure I do this correctly for you. Okay. Can everyone see the prompt here? I'm gonna make sure, because I can't see you all. I just want to make sure everyone, Dr. O'Neill, can you see everything okay?
Yes, I see. Slowing things down.
Perfect. Okay. So what we're going to work on today, and it's just going to be a really short prompt, about 10 minutes, and there is a process to this, so know that we're not doing it for nothing. So we're going to take some time to actually work on some different craft aspects and things that we can just do with our writing that can be in some ways transferred into the publishing field, okay? So we're going to work on, slowing a text down today in particular. So oftentimes when we consider pace, we think of a quickened speed when it comes to writing, to working through fluidity with our readership. But sometimes when it comes down to writing and really taking a moment with the text, we have to work on slowing that particular text down and calling attention to specific scenes, specific aspects in the genre that we're writing in, whatever the cause is. So the prompt today is going to be to select a specific moment in time, whether it's a conflict, a general situation, or a conversation, dialogue, event. And we're going to craft a piece around pace and timing as the structural center. So this moment can be a fictionalized moment, something completely off the top of your head. It can be a memory. It can be written as, prose or poetry. It's up to you. Honestly, the option is completely open. And we're going to use various or, kind of singular pacing tools to slow down that moment and assist it in gradually revealing itself. We're going to work towards building up a particular moment. We're going to help it to linger, resonate, and just, really elevate itself. And we have a couple of examples at the bottom on our side here that can showcase techniques to allow this to happen. So specifically, narrowing in on certain details, like whether they are very sensory details or very concrete, let's elongate our sentences, play with syntax, work on crafting a denser paragraph or focusing just on a single moment in time rather than a plot or, a specific or gradual increase. We can consider introspection. So, monologuing, internal dialogues, whatever the case. So what I want everyone to do is to just take a moment. It could be, something you saw on the news today. It could have been waking up and having a bowl of cereal. It doesn't matter. That option is completely yours. And we're going to spend 5 to 10 minutes, maybe I'll say around 7 minutes, just working on trying to craft something in that way. And then we're going to have a discussion about what it means to, again, write something specifically for a prompt, or writing something for a call to submissions, which will be the next thing that we talk about as a group. And there is an example on the other side, but I don't want to take up too much time reading that. So if you feel that you want to have an idea of playing with that concept, you can just read the passage on the other side. It's a piece that I have from a short story in my collection. And we're going to just give it a start now, okay? Because I don't want to spend too much time doing this. So I'm going to set a timer for us. And yeah, we're gonna just have a free ride, okay? So everyone get started and I'll give you a 2-minute warning. All right, everyone, we're going to have about 2 more minutes. So just start wrapping up your past and what you're trying to say, and make sure you start bringing that major point home. All right, I don't know if everyone heard, but that is time. So pencils down, screens back up, and we're going to come back together and have a little discussion about the prompt. So this is where I would love to have some dialogue. So if people could and would like to turn their audio on, this would be a great time to do it. Video, that would be great too. If you're not comfortable, that's okay. We have the chat. So I would just love to have a dialogue with everybody here in regards to this experience, actually working on a creative prompt like this, taking the time to free write. Is it hard? Is it easy? Was it, simple enough to follow the prompt? I'd just like to hear some thoughts about the process for you. And if anyone would like to share what they wrote, we can definitely do that as well.
Good.
Yes.
Okay. How you doing?
Hey there.
How's everybody? So I found the process to be, especially because it's in the morning for me, just flowing, Yeah, I just learned something just from that, so that maybe I need to be writing in the morning. So I wanted to share, and if that's okay with everybody.
Of course, yes.
Sure. Okay. My foot crossed the line, then entered his. I'm sorry. Yeah, my foot crossed the line, then entered his. I retracted, and so did he. Sam's foot crossed the line, and someone else also. It was my decision, but Sam's moment. He entered the ring and exited with triumph. What if my decision was different in that moment? What if I had decided to enter instead of allowing this moment for Sam? What our team's triumph had become my personal defeat. We may have never received the gold medal as a team. Howard University would have lost the National Collegiate Taekwondo Association Championship in 1979. I may have never known the ability to humble myself.
Wow.
That's it.
Thank you, Dr. Everett. No, that's extremely moving. And I absolutely loved your use of introspection and how you used monologue to break down this very specific and, very powerful moment in time and gave us this wonderful snapshot into that experience for you. That's wonderful. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to share or talk a little bit about the experience? No? Okay, that's okay.
I'm sorry, I was trying to unmute myself.
Okay.
I don't know if I got it right, but I wrote about the struggle to get published.
That's a wonderful topic. That's why we're here.
So I don't even know if I can share. I don't know if I can share my screen or whatever. But yeah, I'm finding this process of getting published extremely frustrating. It's I'm sure you guys y'all have your doctorates and everything, but the problem I think I'm having is because I'm still a doc student. You know, I don't defend until the spring, but I think that publications respect, you know, y'all more than they respect grad students. You know, it's like we don't know what we're really doing yet. You know, so I'm getting rejections, and that's what I wrote about. I wrote about my frustration with not really knowing what I'm supposed to write, you know, or what, you know, research really is. So that's what I wrote about.
Okay. And I understand that frustration. Know that I am actually still attaining mine as well.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So I'm definitely in that boat with you. Yeah, no, it is a process. And part of what I wanted to make sure to work on and create this space with everyone today was to see and to look for as many avenues as we can to try to push ourselves, not just, you know, as academics in that space, but as creatives, and actually using that forum to really elevate those difficulties. So that's exactly what we're going to actually jump into now, Roger. So, but thank you for that, because it is a it is a very tedious and can be an extremely difficult process. And even that aspect about rejections, that's going to be a part of the dialogue today too, because seeing all that red in your ledger sometimes can be extremely disheartening. But even at the postdoctorate level before that, it is common. It is a common trope just associated with it. So know that you're not alone in that process at all. Okay, so I do want to open up the floor one more time just to make sure no one else wants to speak. And then we're going to head into some of the more kind of information-based aspects and how we can do that. So did anyone else want to jump in here? No? All right. So we're going to kind of shift our dialogue in this way now. So one of the major aspects or the importance of working through writing prompts, and why I would continue to promote that for writers at all level, are because of the importance of call for submissions. I think call for submissions offer a very narrow and specific window into the opportunities for publication. Or if you know specifically what an editorial or publishing team is looking for, then you can try to work on writing to that particular forum. Working through different prompts and different workshop avenues that offer us these opportunities give us really great tangible practice in regards to that. Because we'll see, you know, oftentimes, has anyone seen a call for submission before? Like if you've seen like a specific call for like maybe essays on sports writing or pieces, you know, specific to speculative. These are really great opportunities that as emerging writers, we need to start leaning towards and leaning into more, because it means we at least have some window into what this particular publisher is looking for. And good practice into that is working on your prompts. And just like we did this morning, and Dr. Everett said, you know, working in the morning actually just created a type of fluidity to the writing. Things just kind of fell out easier. Find your time to practice. I happen to be a night owl, so 1, 2 in the morning is when work will just kind of start dropping and flowing out of me. And that's when I'll work on my prompts. Take 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes a day, every other day, and work to a specific genre. Write something specific. Work on either your pacing, work on, you know, speeding up a text, whatever the case. Practice writing to a specific thing. So when we start seeing these calls for submissions, we actually know how to start approaching those, and we have practice in those genres and in that specificity. Okay, so that's just a little tidbit. Look for call for submissions specifically, look for those calls. And as that forum goes, I want to have a bigger dialogue on literary journals. Literary journals, well, we could arguably say scholarly if we're working to put out our academic work, but this is a little bit more focused on the creative and just the importance of understanding the research involved in that process. So can anyone tell me just what they know to be the regular submission periods for a lot of literary journals or magazines? If you can just put this in the chat, you can pop in if you know about how many issues most magazines kind of put out a year. Does anyone have any idea? Okay, I see 9, 4. Any other guesses? This is great, because yes, the answer to all of these, and it's okay if you don't know, so that's why we're here, right? So the answer to that is that it really does vary, and it depends on the platforms that you use. So, I see 4 here, and that is actually very typical for a quarterly journal, especially if you are submitting to a print journal. If you're submitting to a print journal, usually the most that you'll see for literary are going to be, yes, in that option in regards to about 4, basically 1 per season is what you're going to have in that forum. And then I see something here about 9 issues, which is actually something that you'll see happen again, especially if you were submitting to online journals, especially in regards to literary. They come out with things almost every month. There is a call. And sometimes there are submission fees that'll range from, $3 to $5. Sometimes you'll see a contest that might range from $10 to $30. So it really just depends on your budget and what it is that you're looking for. Start to research those options, figure out your budget, and know that there are platforms. One of the biggest aspects in regards to this particular quality, though, in regards to submissions, is to create deadlines for yourself as a writer. If you see that there are magazines that are putting out things, and sometimes they're just annual, there will be some journals that just publish 1 issue a year. There will be some that publish 2 to 4. The option that you really want to make sure that you're looking into is having enough written work to be able to actually utilize those as deadlines for yourself. If there is a journal that you see that you're interested in and you know that they have a submission period that's open twice a year, you need to make sure that you have work for both of those submission periods. Because of course, rejections are a part of this industry. And so one of the aspects that we need to try and focus in on is just the continuity. We need to consistently submit. If you're not submitting, then we're not going to get our work out there, okay? So think about those pillars in regards to publication as your deadlines and how it is that you want to be able to put forward as much work as possible for these different avenues, okay? So that's the first aspect. And the second comes into, sorry, there's really loud noises coming from out there. I'm sorry if that's distracting. So it's researching this avenue about specifically emerging authors. So as we start to maneuver through literary magazines or just magazines that are calling for submissions, you want to look for this particular aspect of an emerging author submission. Why? Because they're looking for, they're looking for your voice. They want people that don't have, quite as much publication experience. They want people that are just kind of stepping into this field specifically in a creative way. So looking for specifically calls for emerging authors is going to be a highlight and a key in to all of your submissions. So if you haven't already started looking for calls that have emerging author slants, make sure that that's an option. Another method to that particular submission is to look to see if, and we're in a space right now as Black authors or as writers of color, where we want to see if there are particular magazines that are elevating our voices and our names, and to see if there is a specific call or a specific journal that wants to do that and wants to call attention to these particular, to our particular people and to themes associated with us. So as an example, I'm actually going to put some of these in the chat later on as well, but there are some magazines that are specifically looking for Black writers. For instance, there's a new journal out of DC called Lucky Jefferson, and they have an online strand called Awake. And I did some work with them, and they are looking specifically for Black writers, and we can't find enough people to submit. So there's these, there are these calls for Black writers in these spaces. But again, sometimes, there are issues with promotion and marketing and getting things out there in that forum. But we're not getting submissions. I think we had a lot of submissions for the issue I was in. I think we had about 30, and that was considered a lot. And most of the time, the editor, Nabila, she's working through getting, 5 to 10 submissions in a period. And we're looking to share this. It's a free space. And again, just not enough people are submitting. And so again, going out and seeking these options, and we're going to talk about some places that you can look for these options as well, but looking for specifically Black journals and places that, elevate our voices is a really great key into this as well. So yes, Awake is one example of that, Lucky Jefferson's imprint. There's a new journal out called FIA Literary Magazine that works more in the speculative. There's BLF Press, which specifically works for women of color, specifically in like the LGBTQ community. You have journals like Obsidian and Callaloo, which have been historically journals that have elevated us in our voices. And then you also have platforms like Kawali and The Offing or Moko that are spaces for POC, specifically POC writers, and as well in sharing our stories and elevating that. So I'm actually going to take that list after and just put a few of them in our chat before we get to the end. And if I forget, someone just, give me a reminder, but I don't think I will. All right. And so now outside of that, the reason that we talk about literary magazines again is, another aspect to that are submission portals. So are we fairly aware of some of the portals that exist, like Submittable and Deweytrope? There are different forums that you use to submit your work to, oftentimes that are just avenues that these literary journals will use to, accept applications. But something that is not often promoted in those forums is that they have discover pages. They have pages that literally list links and different journals that are calling for submissions with deadlines. If they have specific journals that are free to Black writers or writers that are POC, those options are listed there as well. So when you go into these spaces to submit, make sure that you explore the portal. Look for publishing opportunities, look for discover opportunities, and read through those lists. And I know they're long sometimes, but it is 100% worth it when you end up going through. And this is where you peek in and find some of these opportunities that you just might not have been aware of in that particular forum. Okay. So make sure to go through those discovery panels in submission portals when you see them. All right. And so we decided that, talking about literary journals would probably be the best step in this regard, because talking about smaller publications is always going to be a really great step into getting the larger publications. So if you're a poet, or whether you're an essayist or a fiction writer, whatever the case, look forward to trying to lean into magazines before looking for the bigger publication, because those things will assist in you creating your bio. And when it's time to promote that book and to put it out there, or if it's a collection or a compilation of things that have already been published, a lot of publishers and editorial teams like to see previous publications amidst that list as well. Okay. So a great means of doing that is to try to submit individual pieces, consistently and throughout time, and they will get picked up. I guarantee they will. It does take time, and it can be daunting, but work through those little forums first and collect something larger. And then that's when we can shift a little bit more into the book forum, which is something we're going to talk about today regarding small presses and commercial presses, and maybe what options work for us a little bit better. And I'm trying not to go too far into time because I want to make sure that there's a Q&A space for everyone. But I do want to talk a little bit about small presses versus commercial. So I'm sure that that's a term that everyone has kind of heard at this point, with independent presses versus big commercial publishers. So, when you think of smaller independent presses, they're usually publishing houses with like annual sales that are below a certain point, or they only publish a certain amount of books. Some examples of that might be Catapult or CNR Press, Press 53, BOA editions. The list really does vary in that regard. And I can put that list of some small presses as well out there for you all. But again, if you just search in Google small and independent presses and submission calls, you'll see a whole list of those available to you just through regular search engines as well. So this is often the option that we promote for first-time novelists or writers. This is an option that is, usually a little bit easier because one, and the biggest one, You don't need a literary agent to be published through a small press. This is something that you can promote and work towards yourself. You can research those options and put out as much work, honestly, as you want to, or as you feel necessary in regards to that forum. So, and some of the benefits to that in working with a small press is that you get to retain a lot of creative control in the process. And, publishing becomes a business just like everything else, and actually getting a chance to have this hands-on experience and sort of direct communication with your publisher and editors can really assist in the process as you're first starting off and give you a feel for the publishing industry and all that it has to offer. Now, something that can be seen as maybe a bit of a hindrance in regards to smaller presses, which I'm sure we can all kind of surmise, is that there's less internal funding. There is not as much money. And so sometimes when there's not as much money, that means there can't be as big of a marketing team, or there can't be as much outreach potential. And that sometimes equates to less exposure for your writing. Not always. It's not saying that a book from an independent press doesn't do well or can't do well. They definitely can, and they can get that exposure. But knowing that and understanding the limits of your press, I know that with my collection, it was through a small press and it did very well in the forums that we had, but then there were some award opportunities that my press simply couldn't afford to apply to. It was way too expensive. It was too much of a commitment. And that wasn't something that we were able to do on this first round. So that is an option to, remember and consider as well. And then that moves into the commercial publishing market, which, I think we kind of know some of the big names there in regards to Penguin, HarperCollins, McGraw-Hill, and Scholastic. So just the big houses that are often options for, more experienced authors, but also first-time authors can go that route as well. You will likely almost always need an agent and now, especially now, to be placed into a larger publishing house. And so the agent process is a whole separate submission, concern that can honestly take about as long as actually getting a publisher, can take as long as even finding a journal for a specific piece of writing. It is a process as well. So when we look for agents, just one of the tricks that I've learned and will always promote with new authors is to look for new agents to accompany. You can see on agenting websites through these different portals and through these venues, if they're new to a company, if they have a fairly small client list, that is something that you want to take note of. It is something and a person that you likely want to submit to, because just like you are looking to create exposure for yourself, they're looking to build a client list. They want to build a client list. They want to create and garner new creativity and new people in that forum. So definitely, 100% definitely look for that forum with writers and for agents that are new to this particular field as well. And do your research in regards to representation the same way that you would with magazines and journals. You have to find an agent that's a good fit. Don't just look for a name and send a submission. No, take the time, look at their list, look at their client list, see who they're representing. If they're people that are writing in your genre, if they're people that are, around the same, point in their careers as you, all of these avenues will assist in finding a good match for yourself and your agent, okay? And so now back to the idea of just, submitting to a bigger publisher. Of course, like you get that nice hands-on, a bit of creative control with independent presses. That's going to go away just a little bit anyway in regards to commercial publishers. There's not as much creative control. Most of their workings are kind of held internally and interdepartmentally, though you'll be consulted likely at the end of your project or in some forum. It's pretty hands-off, and there's not going to be quite as much communication in that particular aspect. And some writers feel that it's a little bit more overwhelming in trying to create like an intimate and like fostering community. So that can be a bit jarring with your work, just kind of taking it and putting it in someone else's hands and not really having any control. But the benefit to that platform is there usually is more internal funding. There are larger markets and teams with wider outreach and potential that can oftentimes equate to more exposure and, and just to being able to get your work out there a little bit more, your name, who you are as a writer. Those platforms really are wonderful when it comes to commercial markets. And again, these are options that are really possible for independent presses as well. You just have to be more involved. You have to be more involved in that process. And small tactics that can help in promoting your work in that way, whether you're going independent or just want to work through your own craft, are to consider working with a publicist. There actually are a lot of publicists that work independently that aren't charging those, outrageous fees to work with writers and to promote their work. They kind of have this opportunity to do the things that we don't always know how to do, to work through and get our work in different avenues and spaces that we might not think of. It's their job. And so looking into a publicist is a really great option for that. And also being able to share your work consistently. If you have a piece published, send it out to friends, colleagues, family, create engagement, create readership for yourself. Tell them to engage in the comments, to really be involved with your writing so you can create a writing space for yourself and a presence online or, in the print community, whichever option it is that you choose to go. And again, I think one of the biggest pieces of work is to not be too to not find it too daunting to receive those rejections, because it is common. Know that is common for all writers in all spaces. It is a very difficult, and it's such a subjective field. It is extremely, extremely frustrating, but the only way to get over that hill is to continue with those processes, but also to make sure you do your background research. That is the thing. That is the big takeaway I want all of us to pull from today. Research where and how much you're sending to these different journals. And if you send to a particular place, a few times, it honestly, it might be worth the option. I see questions coming in and I'll make sure to get to those as well. So I'm sorry because I don't want to miss out on any other questions, but just to make sure that you're submitting your work consistently, and you're researching where it's going. If you're submitting to a particular journal or a particular publisher and not having any luck, consider maybe investing in an issue of that journal. Read the journal, go and look through the books that they are publishing at that particular company and see if you're a good fit, because just because you want to be there doesn't mean that that's the best home for your work. And your work is, of course, the priority in that regard. So research, and that's what I can speak for in regards to myself and being able to get published at the point that I was able to at a young age. Honestly, I had a class and a professor that really worked through that particular angle, which not enough do sometimes, and actually talking about tangible and like just literal experience in that industry. It's research. It's doing your research, doing all that background checking in regards to your work and where you're going to put it. Okay. So that's the forum. So now I see questions coming in. I want to just get in questions now because we have about 15 minutes. So I want to have any questions come in or just open a dialogue. So,
and I do see a question here from Roger, sharing your work on ResearchGate, and he wants to know if that's good.
Okay, you're going to have to tell me about ResearchGate. You have to tell me about exactly what that platform is. I'm not familiar with that one, but I will look it up as you tell me a bit about it.
Now, it's a website that I found that it has, I guess, scholars from all over the world, and they publish their work, presentations, conference presentations, slideshows, you name it. They're on there. My advisor is on ResearchGate, but I don't know what ResearchGate really means. So I just wondered, is that a venue to publish work from maybe rejected work, or do you want to put anything on ResearchGate? That's my question.
Okay. Well, I'm not, like I said, I'm not super familiar with it. I'm looking at it now, and it does look like, do you know if there's a way to communicate with other, like academics or other writers through ResearchGate? Yeah. Is there a way that you can communicate with?
Yeah, you can ask.
And that's what I'm wondering.
You can ask for feedback, and people give feedback, and.
Yeah, and that sounds like a really wonderful networking opportunity. And it looks like, Academia is similar to ResearchGate, and yeah, okay, so yeah, so someone else, yeah, is on both, and it looks like it seems like it would be a really great networking opportunity as well. So one, getting a chance to, of course, create some exposure for your work is a really great opportunity, but networking and creating a community where you can have a dialogue about what you're creating and see what other people are creating and what's getting published, maybe what's, not getting published or not kind of getting into that forum as well. I think that's always a really great option. If you can have a space where you can chat, have conversations, create and get contacts in regards to this, always take them. Take them and just, pile up as many contacts and networking opportunities as you can, because if you start getting people to share what opportunities they see are available or accessible to them, then hopefully that's information that'll be shared with you as well, right? So yeah, 100%. If there's a way to communicate with people through it, I think I would definitely promote that forum.
And I see
Yes.
that Dr. Daniels has his hand raised.
Okay.
Hello, good morning.
Good
Thank you
morning.
for sharing the information. I really appreciate your presentation. The previous question regarding ResearchGate, I've typically used it as, I see it as a repository of published research and articles, and I've reached out to professors and other scholars to inquire regarding their papers or regarding their knowledge and information. And I've used it as a networking opportunity. So just wanted to follow up on that. I'm very familiar with ResearchGate. My question, I'd love to get your thoughts about medium.com. I don't know if you're familiar with that platform. I've typically used it to publish my thoughts and share those thoughts or share that information on social media. So any particular thoughts about medium.com and its credibility, let's say, in the academic world? Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. So when it comes to Medium, so I think when you get into these spaces with hybrid forums, I think we start to have a bit of maybe a little bit of subjectivity in regards to it. I personally love and really enjoy Medium, and I have colleagues that do as well. But I think it comes into this forum about maybe where or how people kind of see and understand those spaces, because I think there can be, sometimes, I don't know how to say this, a little bit of a publishing hierarchy in regards to the platforms that people decide to use to put their work out there. And I think that Medium is a great space to garner these conversations and have a wider forum that is hybrid. So whether we're looking at things in this academic or scholarly lens, or we kind of shift into a more craft-based or creative lens, I think that those things don't have to be a hindrance, but I do know that that is going to be a very subjective means depending on who you see as the person or the affiliation that you want to create. I think that you should continue to use Medium as an option to share that, because that's just great to have on your CV in general. It's such great output, and there's such great material that is constantly created and shared in that regard. But I think that putting that out there is only going to be beneficial to you. But in regards to an academic platform and where that goes, oftentimes if there are not like institutional affiliations associated with it, certain people will see that on a CV and not necessarily, compartmentalize it as just specifically a scholarly or academic publication. That is sometimes the way that'll be looked at, but Medium is something that is such a broad-banded and wide option that it's going to benefit you in any regard, and having your work consistently shared on that platform. So I think that there are 100% benefits to staying in that particular space, but when you're promoting the work and kind of pushing it forward, do know that there are some people that probably will not associate it with that unless it has like that specific like peer review or scholarly association with it as well. Yeah. But I think that's a wonderful option that you need to definitely keep, putting work out through. Medium is such a great it's such great output. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you very much.
Of course. All right. Was there anybody else that wanted to jump in? I really want to get any questions in, or just any concerns that people have. Please share. We have a few minutes, and if we have some time, we'll do another prompt just to finish out the session. But
my question is actually about
Dr. Cooper.
You mentioned that it is helpful if we, use prompts, and I'm just wondering, is there any place where you recommend that we get prompts from? Like, I think you were saying that we should pay more attention to calls, but like calls for
Yes.
papers, but are there like more creative prompts that we should be doing or other things that we should be doing to just, where would we get prompts like you mentioned today, like we did the slow down, where would we get a prompt like that?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Those will honestly vary just depending on the avenues that you take. Oftentimes they'll just be kind of workshop. Like for instance, there's this actually a really great workshop that I'll put in the chat as well called POC Writing Party. Every Monday, there are sessions with writers of color specifically that come together, and we all just lead with a couple of prompts. And that's it. So you have 2 prompts come in, you work through the session, you spend about 30 minutes on each one, but it's once a week, you have that particular platform. And there are also books with prompts, because the thing about prompting that I find can be really tedious is that you just don't like some of them. You know, sometimes you just don't feel that some are very helpful or very fluid, and you're kind of looking at this thing like, what are they asking me to do? This isn't of interest to me. So looking for writing prompts, I really think comes into looking for creative spaces that you enjoy. If there's a particular writer that you like, look for their website. You know, look for their website, look into their if they have books on craft or essays, there are usually prompts that are just embedded in those. So looking for books specifically associated with craft, always super helpful. And that is so subjective. I can't even give you a specific one. I mean, you have someone like Anne Lamont's Bird, you know, Bird by Bird. There are some really generic ones that you have, but I'm going to put the link to the BIPOC Writing Party in there for you, because those are fresh prompts every week. And in doing that, you can connect with those writers and also kind of, again, foster a community where prompting and just asking each other questions and doing this works. But I will say, don't forget that the free write, just free writing by itself, is a prompt, Dr. Cooper. Be completely aware of that. Just taking 20 minutes every other day and walking around your apartment and doing what we did, writing about the happenings of the morning before, or specifically a picture that you have in your, that is a prompt too. You can prompt yourself, but just make sure that you're specific and that by the end you have followed through with whatever the question was or whatever the follow through you had was. It's just good practice in working on specificity as we create them and try to connect to these call for submissions. But I will send that link as well, though.
And it also looks like Rohan has also added a link for some writing prompts as well in the chat.
Wonderful. See, there you go. Super accessible. It really is. Like this information and some of this stuff really is out there. You do have to sift through a bit of it. I would be lying to tell you that every single opportunity is going to be a fit for you. But sifting through and looking for those options as they exist and how they connect to you as a writer will definitely be beneficial in regards to that. And I have a book. This was just something that I found, I think at a thrift store or something, and it doesn't even have a specific publisher. And I think you can search for it. It's a little, it's an actual book, and I think they have different versions of it. I think it's 100 writing prompts or 300 writing prompts for writers. And it's a book, the whole thing. And you just search that into, I'd say, into one of the generic, like buying sites, Amazon, I'm sure, but 100 writing prompts. And it's just this thick book that is nothing but blank space. And every page starts with a prompt. And it just prompts you. And you can go through it, select different questions that work or that don't. But typically those, and I like to specifically write my prompts by hand. I feel that it's more fluid for me versus typing. So I like those options in regards to tangible books as well. But yeah, just Google those options and writing prompts, and they don't cost much. You know, you can get them for, $3 to $5, and you just have all of this, this writing exposure for yourself. So that's an option too.
So I just threw a time prompt in the chat. 4 minutes remaining for you to get your questions in for Miss Christie.
All right, well, if no one has any for me, if you do, just, interrupt, but just a question for all of you in regards to your publishing experience and in regards to, I guess, some of the difficulties or tediousness in regards to this. Can anyone, oh, yes, I was going to submit. Just while I'm getting some of those links up, can people just talk a little bit about their experiences and I guess some of the frustrations that, have kind of occurred just in this process for you as a writer that's, kind of at the early stages of submissions like this, and if this is helpful in some of the information that you received today as well.
Good morning. This is Dr. Crenshaw. Just a comment.
Good
Good morning. I'm working on my second doctorate at a predominantly white institution, and the professor, as a suggestion, has suggested to publish in, like, for instance, the Harvard Business Review. And I don't know if anyone has checked lately, but they don't necessarily represent our voice. And I suggested to the professor that, that we should look at publications that are seeking our voice. So, I mean, if Cornell West was an example enough for us, or Ms. Jones at North Carolina, I think that we should really look for publications that will represent us and our voice and our topic matter. So that just as a suggestion, particularly for the doctorate students when you're going to publish, so that you're not frustrated.
Well, I completely agree. And that was one of the reasons that ended up being the forum for wanting to create these spaces, or looking for it specifically with literary and like creative work. But it's the same thing when it comes to the forums for our academic and scholarly. We have to start doing our research and looking for platforms that are actually elevating our voices and that care to publish what we're writing and us, and create some representation and a larger conversation regarding that as well. So I wholeheartedly agree with that. And there is a list of journals here that I would just say copy and paste. And this is just for, again, these are more so for creative people looking for things for literary magazines. In regards to these options, these are still presses that are looking for work, that are constantly publishing work specifically for Black writers and POC writers, that are committed to the concept of diversity and exactly what was just brought up in that forum, in spaces where our work can actually have a platform, and they want our work to have a platform consistently. And I'm going to send one more link here before we finish. And this is the option for the BIPOC writing parties that we have, and where you can again foster and create a community. And these sessions are once a week. They are every Monday evening. Okay, and this is the link to their website. And then once you sign up for your email list, you will get Zoom invitations, and you will be able to, again, really create a community. It's really fostering a community in that space. And when I did my workshop there, I think we had upwards of 90 people in the forum. So it's a really, really great space, and you're getting in writers from all over coming in to have this dialogue and to create a safe space to write and to share. And you're welcome. I see some comments in here. You are welcome. Oh, and did I send that? Oh, I think I sent that specifically to Dr. Daniels. Yes, I did. There we go. Okay. I think you should be able to see it now. But I think that is time. I believe I had an hour of everyone's time today. So thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for the amazing dialogue. And I hope that this was helpful. I think that these forums need to be a lot more publicized. I think we need to have more conversations about getting work published, about the process, about the tedious nature of it sometimes, and so I'm so glad that you're all able to be here. And again, thank you, Dr. O'Neill, for doing this for us, and thank you to the Black Doctoral Network. It's wonderful.
A question?
Oh, hey, hi, Dr. Sweet. Yes.
Do you have any written material? Like, did you write a book, or do you have a website or something?
Oh,
yes.
And I was going to say, I apologize. That's Dr. Sweet. You missed the bio at the beginning, but Ms.
No, I didn't miss the bio, but I just didn't hear. I'm a visual person, so I kind of need it in writing. So
gotcha.
So it would be great if you put in the chat your book, or where to purchase your book, or because the material was good, but I'm such a visual person that I would love some of this in writing rather than just and that's why I asked, was the video going to be available to us, because I'm such a visual learner. So sorry about that.
No, don't be sorry. Thank you, Dr. Sweet. That you bring up a very good point for our visual learners. So thank you.
Yes, and I just put my website down there, and actually you can get in touch with me. I have my email address in there, all of my my books, all my creative work. So I'm actually working on a book on craft and on getting and publications, Dr. Sweet. So that's something to definitely keep an eye out for. It's something I'm working on actually pitching right now. But yeah, you can find me at morganchristiewrites.com. My email is in there, and please reach out, be in touch. I love to kind of create and foster these communities for writers as well. So everyone, if we talk today, please do feel comfortable reaching out. I would love to be in touch with anybody with any questions or anything we couldn't address today. Okay.
Absolutely. Great
Yes.
presentation. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
I just want to say again, thank you. Thank you to Morgan Christie for facilitating a robust, insightful conversation. And thank you to all of you for showing up and participating fully. We really appreciate it. Please remember also to give us feedback through the link that I've been popping into the chat. And this helps us drive other programming. So everyone have a great day on purpose, and be the reason somebody else has a great day. Thanks.